What is Medicaid? The Medicaid program, Title 19 of the Social Security Act, is a state-administered health insurance program that is jointly funded by federal and state governments. The states operate individual Medicaid programs within broad federal guidelines. It provides care after financial resources have been exhausted. In contrast, Medicare is a federal health insurance program that covers most hospital and other health care services for people aged 65 and older. Individuals may still incur significant out-of-pocket expenses for Medicare premiums, deductibles, and copayments. Medicare does not pay for custodial care or room and board. The scope of the Medicaid program. Medicaid is the largest health insurance program in the United States. It comprises 15.9% of the nation's total health spending, which is approximately $1.9 trillion. 58 million people participate in the program. Medicaid expenditures are increasing at a faster rate than private insurance and Medicare. It covers 26% of all children in the United States, 8% of all non-elderly adults, and comprises nearly 22% of the average state budget. Medicaid is the highest spender in most states. Federal poverty level. The federal poverty level, FPL, is the amount of income to provide a bare minimum for food, clothing, transportation, shelter, and other necessities. It's updated annually by HHS and varies according to family size. 100% of the FPL is $23,850 for a family of 4 in 2014. Medically needy. Medicaid serves many people who have extreme medical costs that can completely deplete their income and assets, such as nursing home or high hospital expenses. Eligibility is calculated by deducting medical costs from income. It allows individuals to spend down to Medicaid eligibility. 39 states have elected to cover medically needy individuals, each one of them different. So when you've seen one Medicaid program, you've seen one Medicaid program. Who is eligible? Medicaid is only available to people with limited income. You must meet certain requirements in order to be eligible for Medicaid. Medicaid does not pay money directly to you. Instead, it sends payments to your healthcare provider. Depending on your state's rule, you may also be asked to pay a small part of the costs, a copayment, for some medical services. Eligibility. Unlike Medicare, Medicaid is an entitlement program based on income and asset guidelines. The State Department of Social Services administers the program through the county offices. Monthly program must be eligible on the first day of the month of requested eligibility. Applicants' resources must be at or below the Medicaid resource level. Filing an application during a period of ineligibility could potentially cause a significant delay in the applicant's eligibility approval status. Physical criteria. Qualifying for Medicaid involves not only financial, but also physical requirements. Applicants must demonstrate through a physical exam that he or she is unable to perform the activities of daily living, including feeding, dressing, bathing, toileting, and continence. If it cannot be shown to Medicaid that the care is medically necessary, the Medicaid application will be denied. Medicaid income and resource levels. You meet financial eligibility by either qualifying for supplemental security income, SSI, in the community, or qualifying for institutional Medicaid. You have to have a grossly month income at or below $2,022 per month and resources at or below $2,000. There are exempt transfers. The house to a spouse, to a primary caregiver, a child that has lived with a parent and kept them out of a nursing home for 2 years, siblings with an equity interest who have lived together for 1 year, disabled children of any age, or children under 21. Also, assets can be exempt to spouse and disabled child of any age, and the home equity limit is $750,000. The community spouse. Now, this is the spouse that's not institutionalized. The Community Spouse Resource Allowance, CSRA, is currently $74,820, or one-half the total value of the countable resources of both spouses as of the date of the institutionalization of the ill spouse, and it's not to exceed the maximum CSRA, which is $104,440. It does not include the ill spouse's allowance of $4,350, the family home, a car of any value, $1,500 face value of the life insurance policy, or any prepaid burial items. The Community Spouse Minimum Monthly Needs Allowance, MMNA. The allowance right now is $2,739. If the income of the community spouse is less than the MMNA, they will be allowed to keep enough of the ill spouse's income to bring them up to the MMNA. If the income of the community spouse is more than the MMNA, they will be asked to make a contribution towards the care of the ill spouse, normally 25% of the excess over the MMNA. Now, there are look-back and penalty periods. There are two different time periods. The look-back is simply how far back Medicaid can examine your records to see what you've done with your money. The penalty period is how long you are ineligible for Medicaid if they see that you have made gifts of your money within the look-back period. The look-back period before February 8, 2006 is 36 months look-back for transfers to individuals and 60-month look-back for transfers to a trust. After February 8th of 2006, as a result of the Deficit Reduction Act of 2005, a 60-month look-back for all transfers. The 5-year look-back went into effect on February 2011. The longer look-back period was phased in gradually as it only affected transfers after February 8, 2006. Penalty periods. If the transfer appears in the look-back period, divide the amount transferred by the average regional rate for a nursing home in your region. Before February 8, 2006, the transfer penalty began the month after the transfer was made. After February 8, 2006, the transfer began the month the person is institutionalized and otherwise eligible for Medicaid. Retroactive eligibility. If you are determined eligible for Medicaid and you have unpaid medical bills from the 3-month period immediately before the month of your Medicaid application, the state will pay for those services if you were eligible for Medicaid at the time of the service. This is called retroactive eligibility, and you must apply for this coverage within 6 months of the date of your Medicaid application. Assisted living, or AL. AL is a Medicaid waiver program that enables individuals at risk of placement in a nursing facility and who meet income and resource requirements to receive a broad array of supportive and health services by residing in an assisted living facility. There is limited availability for this program, and it has long waiting lists. The services that are provided in AL include homemaker, chores, attendant care, medication administration, social activities, skilled nursing, ongoing assessment, health monitoring, and transportation. Availability of AL. Enrollment in the AL Medicaid waiver is available in many states. The availability of AL services is determined by the number of vacancies in the provider facilities and the availability of Medicaid waiver slots. Distribution of these slots is managed through the State Department of Health and Senior Services. The service package provided is based on an assessment of the individual's needs, unique care plan, and availability of services and funding. Who is eligible for Medicaid services in AL? You must meet the following clinical requirements. Be at least 65 years old or 21 to 64 and determined disabled by the Social Security Administration or by the Disability Review Section of the State Division of Medical Assistance and Health Services, and have been assessed by the staff of the State Department of Health and Senior Services and found to be in need of nursing facility level of care. Who is eligible for AL Medicaid waiver? Well, you must meet financial eligibility by qualifying, as before, for Supplemental Security Income, SSI, in the community, or for qualifying for institutional Medicaid. Qualifying for state-sponsored care, must have a gross monthly income that's no more than 100% of the federal poverty level and have resources at or below $4,000. The AL program participants may pay the provider a cost share in addition to any room and board fees, depending on his or her income and allowable deductions. The care manager calculates the cost share. These are the documents you will need to support your Medicaid application: birth or baptismal certificate, Medicare card and Social Security card, health insurance card, a copy of the front and back, and current premiums, verification of marital status using a marriage certificate, divorce papers, death certificate of spouse, veteran discharge papers, if applicable, verification of income for current year, so you can use a pension check and stub, Social Security award letter, or a copy of your most recent check. All estate planning documents are required, power of attorney, will, trust agreements as applicable. Statements or passbooks on all bank accounts, open or closed for the past 36 months or 60 months to a trust. All checks or receipts for any withdrawal $1,000 or over for the past 36 months or to the creation of a trust within 60 months. Any other resource owned in the past 30 months or 60 months to a trust, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. Certificate of title to any motor vehicle, including a car or mobile home. Verification of income from all sources, stock dividends, interest income, or other sources. They need a copy of your latest income tax return and for the past 3 years with all the 1099s. Residency verification, deeds and tax bills to home residents or any lease or rental agreement, deed and tax bills for any other property that you may own, contract of sale for any property sold in the last 3 years, a burial plot deed, life insurance policies, including the face and cash values. Substantiating the data. Each Medicaid office has a computer program to verify Social Security numbers, employment history, and other personal information. If any financial information is not disclosed to a county welfare office, the office may deny the application based on information that it periodically receives from the Internal Revenue Service. Intentional failure to disclose relevant financial data is considered Medicaid fraud. Even in cases where Medicaid eligibility has initially been granted, the county welfare office may revoke the approval upon receiving the IRS records. Warning: the following acts are crimes under the federal and state law, and persons found guilty of these acts can be fined up to $10,000 or put into prison for up to 3 years or both. Lending your Medicaid card. Giving any information known to be false in order to gain Medicaid benefits. Hiding any information about the occurrence of an event that you know will bear on your right to Medicaid benefits or the right of another person for whom you applied and who is receiving Medicaid coverage. Applying for Medicaid for another person and using the benefits for yourself or someone else who is not eligible. What services are covered? Inpatient and outpatient hospital services, physician services, medical and surgical dental services, nursing facility services for individuals aged 21 and older, home health care for persons eligible for nursing facility services, family planning services and supplies, health clinic services, and any other ambulatory services offered by a health clinic that are otherwise covered under the state plan, laboratory and x-ray services, pediatric and family nurse practitioner services, midwife services to the extent authorized by state law, early and periodic screening, diagnosis, and treatment, EPSTD services for individuals under the age of 21. Well, how long does it take? Well, the federal rights ensure a prompt disposition of your application. Enforcing the federally mandated deadline of 90 days found in the Code of Federal Regulations and the state can be done through a fair hearing, which is an informal proceeding before an administrative law judge. These hearings are often used to expedite the decision-making process of the county and state welfare agencies. Individuals who do not exercise their federal and state rights to a prompt decision on their Medicaid applications might otherwise find themselves waiting for over a year to learn whether their nursing home bills which have been accruing will be covered by the benefits program. Highly encourage anyone undergoing this process to seek legal advice. Mishandled Medicaid applications can cause families thousands of dollars. Do not apply too early. Strategies for Medicaid planning often include triggering a penalty period for Medicaid eligibility purposes. It's imperative to have ownership of assets evaluated using the DSS rules before a spend-down plan is created. It may require individuals to complete a plan of liquidation of assets in certain situations. There is much more to filing a Medicaid application than just gathering documents. You will need competent representation. This has been Medicaid Application Process, Tips to Facilitate Your Approval. I'm Benjamin Pierce. For more information, visit my website at planetbenja.com.